You walk into the grocery store for milk and bread. You walk out with $147 worth of stuff you didn't plan to buy. And here's the kicker. You think it was your decision. Look, I'm going to let you in on something that the retail industry has known for 70 years, but really doesn't want you thinking about. Every single element of that grocery store, from the moment you walk through those automatic doors to the checkout lane, has been engineered, tested, and optimized to extract the maximum amount of money from your wallet. And it's working. The average American household spends about $475 per month on groceries, but according to the USDA, they waste roughly 31% of that food. That's $1,767 a year you're literally throwing in the garbage. My name is Nick, and I spend way too much time thinking about why smart people make terrible financial decisions in grocery stores. If you're someone who constantly overspends at the supermarket, can't figure out why your grocery budget never works, or keeps buying stuff that ends up rotting in your fridge, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because here's the thing, this isn't about willpower, this isn't about being bad with money. This is about walking into a scientifically designed wealth extraction machine and not knowing the game that's being played on you.
Okay, so let's talk about something even more manipulative, where products are actually placed on the shelves. Look, there's a reason that the most expensive cereals are at eye level and the generic brands are either at your feet or above your head. Retailers call this eye level is buy level, and food manufacturers literally pay tens of thousands of dollars for premium shelf placement. According to Nielsen, products placed at eye level sell 35% better than products on the top or bottom shelves. Think about that. The exact same product, the exact same price, just by being easier to see, it sells a third more units. And you know who's paying for that premium placement? You are. Those slotting fees, which can run from $1,500 to $50,000 per product per retail chain, get passed directly to consumers through higher prices. But here's what most people don't realize. The stores aren't just organizing by what sells best, they're organizing by profit margin. The store brand pasta sauce on the bottom shelf costs $2.50 and gives the store a 35% margin. The name brand sauce at eye level costs $4.50 and gives them a 42% margin. They make more money when you buy the expensive stuff, so they make the expensive stuff easier to buy. And if you have kids, oh man, you're in trouble. Ever notice how the sugary cereals with cartoon characters are placed at the exact height of a 4-year-old's eyes? That's not a coincidence. That's the nag factor strategy. Food companies know that parents will spend an extra $150 to $300 per year just to avoid arguments with their kids in the grocery store. Now you might be thinking, okay, Nick, but I'm an adult. I can resist advertising to children. Can you, though? Because here's the thing, the psychological tactics don't stop being effective just because you're aware of them. Let me give you a concrete example. You're walking down the cereal aisle. You see a box with a bright yellow "New" sticker on it. Your brain registers novelty. Novelty triggers curiosity. Curiosity triggers the release of dopamine, literally the same neurotransmitter involved in addiction. And before you've consciously decided anything, your hand is reaching for that box. A study from the University of Pennsylvania found that products marked with new labels sold 23% better than identical products without the label, even when the new thing was just different packaging. They're not selling you food, they're selling you the feeling of discovery. All right, let's go deeper into the actual sensory experience of the grocery store, because this is where it gets genuinely creepy. Have you ever walked into a grocery store and smelled fresh baked bread? Here's what most people don't realize. That's not an accident of timing. Many stores actually pump bakery smells through their ventilation systems on purpose. Why? Because the smell of fresh bread triggers something called olfactory nostalgia. It makes you think of home, comfort, and childhood. And when you feel comfortable and nostalgic, you spend more money.
Research from the Smell and Taste Treatment and Research Foundation in Chicago found that pumping pleasant ambient scents into retail environments increased purchase intent by up to 40% and actual sales by about 20%. They're literally manipulating your emotions through your nose. And it's not just smell. Have you ever noticed that the music in grocery stores is always slow and relaxing? According to a study published in the Journal of Retailing, slower music makes people shop slower, and people who shop slower spend more. When stores played music with 108 beats per minute versus 60 beats per minute, shoppers spent 38% more time in the store and purchased 29% more items. Look, even the lighting is optimized. The produce section is always the brightest part of the store because bright lighting makes colors look more vibrant, which makes the food look fresher, which makes you want to buy it more. Then as you move into the middle aisles, the processed foods, the canned goods, the lighting gets dimmer and warmer. Why? Because it makes you feel more relaxed and less critical of your purchasing decisions. This is where it gets really interesting. Grocery stores even manipulate your perception of time. Have you ever noticed there are rarely any windows or clocks in grocery stores? That's intentional. It's called time distortion, and it's borrowed directly from casino design. When you can't see outside and you don't know what time it is, you lose your natural sense of urgency. You shop longer. You spend more. And here's the math on what this costs you. If these environmental factors cause you to spend just 15% more per shopping trip, and you shop once a week with an average card of $100, that's an extra $780 per year going to the grocery store. Over 20 years, that's $15,600, and that's not even accounting for investment opportunity cost.
Okay, so you've made it through the store, you're heading to checkout, you think you're almost done getting manipulated. You're not even close. The checkout lane is what retail designers call the decompression zone, and it's possibly the most psychologically manipulative part of the entire store. Here's why. First, there are all those impulse items: candy, magazines, gum, energy drinks. These aren't there randomly. The average checkout lane generates about $5.50 per customer in impulse purchases, according to the Association for Convenience and Fuel Retailing. That might not sound like much, but across all grocery stores in America, we're talking about roughly $5.5 billion per year in impulse purchases just at checkout. But here's what most people don't realize. The checkout lane is designed to exploit something called ego depletion. You've been making decisions for the past 30 minutes, comparing prices, reading labels, resisting temptations. Every decision you make depletes your mental willpower a little bit. By the time you get to checkout, your decision-making capacity is exhausted. You're tired, your kid is cranky, you're ready to be done. And that's exactly when they hit you with candy bars and tabloids. Research by Roy Baumeister, who pioneered ego depletion theory, found that people who had recently made a series of complex decisions were significantly more likely to make impulse purchases, and the checkout lane is specifically designed to capitalize on this. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but I can just avoid the checkout impulse buys. Sure, maybe, but have you noticed how many stores now have self-checkout? They tell you it's about convenience, about giving you control. But here's the thing. Self-checkout also removes social accountability. When there's a human cashier scanning your items, there's a tiny bit of social pressure. You're slightly more aware of buying junk food or making excessive purchases because another person is witnessing it. But at self-checkout, nobody's watching, nobody's judging. And studies have shown that self-checkout customers actually spend 3 to 7% more on average than those going through regular checkout lanes, specifically on indulgent or impulse items. Look, they've even gamified the checkout process. You know those loyalty programs where you scan your card for discounts and points? Here's what most people don't realize. Those programs aren't primarily about saving you money. They're data collection systems. Every time you scan that card, the store is tracking exactly what you buy, when you buy it, how much you spend, and what you're likely to buy next. They use that data to send you targeted coupons, but not for things you were going to buy anyway.
They send you coupons for higher margin items, gateway products that lead to other purchases, or loss leaders designed to get you back in the store more frequently. And the numbers on this are kind of shocking. According to McKinsey, retailers that effectively use customer data from loyalty programs see profit margin increases of 3 to 8%. Again, who do you think is paying for those increased margins? You are. All right, so now you're probably feeling paranoid about ever going to a grocery store again. Look, that's not the point. You still need food. But here's the thing. Once you understand the game, you can actually beat it. Here's your action plan. Step 1. Shop with a list and stick to it like your financial future depends on it, because it does. This sounds obvious, but according to the Point of Purchase Advertising International study, shoppers who use a list spend 23% less than those who don't. On a $400 monthly grocery budget, that's $92 saved per month, or $1,104 per year. Over 20 years at a 7% return if invested, that's $45,636. That's what going to the grocery store without a list actually costs you. Step 2. Eat before you shop. Research from Cornell found that hungry shoppers purchased 64% more items than shoppers who weren't hungry, and specifically bought 31% more high-calorie junk food. If you're spending $100 per trip, shopping hungry could mean spending an extra $64, with about 20 of that being food that's actively bad for you. Just eat a meal first. This is probably the highest ROI decision you can make for 15 minutes of your time. Step 3. Shop the perimeter, but don't start with produce. Here's what most people don't realize. You can actually use the store layout against itself. The perimeter of the store, produce, meat, dairy, is where the real food is. The middle aisles are mostly processed garbage with huge markups. But instead of starting with produce and giving yourself moral licensing to buy junk later, start with your protein and dairy, then end with produce so it doesn't get crushed, and skip most of the middle entirely. Step 4. Look up and down. Remember, eye level is buy level, but eye level is also where the most expensive products are. The cheaper, often identical products are on the top and bottom shelves. Make it a habit to physically crouch down and look up. The store brand pasta sauce that's 40% cheaper is down there. The generic cereal that's literally made in the same factory as the name brand, it's up there. And here's the math. If switching to store brands on just 10 common items saves you 75 cents per item, and you buy those items once a week, that's $390 per year. Over a lifetime, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. Step 5. Use the per-unit price labels. This is the most underutilized tool in the entire grocery store. Those little labels on the shelf edge that show price per ounce or per pound, they're there because of consumer protection laws, and they're the only truly honest information in the entire store. The family size package that seems like a deal is often more expensive per unit than buying 2 regular sizes. Step 6. Set a timer on your phone for 20 minutes. Remember, every minute in the store increases impulse purchases. Give yourself a fixed amount of time, and when the timer goes off, you're done shopping. This creates artificial urgency and forces you to be more intentional about what you're buying. Plus, it counteracts all that time distortion manipulation. Step 7. If you have kids, shop without them when possible. Look, I get it, sometimes you have no choice, but according to retail research, parents shopping with children spend 20 to 40% more than parents shopping alone, almost entirely due to child-requested purchases. If you can shop during work lunch breaks or after the kids are in bed, you'll save meaningful money.
Here's the thing. None of this is about being cheap. None of this is about never enjoying food or depriving yourself. This is about understanding that every time you walk into a grocery store, you're walking into an environment that has been scientifically optimized over 70 years to separate you from your money as efficiently as possible. Look, the grocery store isn't evil. The people who work there aren't bad people. But the system, the architecture, the psychology, the manipulation, it's all designed with one goal: maximize revenue per square foot. And when you don't understand that system, you lose. But now you do understand it. You know about moral licensing and ego depletion. You know about eye-level placement and sensory manipulation. You know about the checkout gauntlet and the loyalty program data collection. You're not walking in blind anymore. And here's what most people don't realize. If you can save just $50 per month by being more intentional about grocery shopping, that's $600 per year. Invested at 7% for 30 years, that's $56,641 from groceries, from just being aware of the game being played on you. So the next time you walk into that grocery store, you're going to see it differently. You're going to notice the fresh bread smell and recognize it for what it is. You're going to walk past the eye-level products and look down. You're going to stick to your list even when that bright yellow news sticker tries to trigger your dopamine. Because you're not a passive consumer anymore. You're someone who understands the system. And once you understand the system, you can beat it. If this video helped you see grocery stores differently, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more content about the psychological tricks that keep people poor. And drop a comment below. What's the sneakiest thing you've noticed your grocery store doing? I'm Nick, and I'll see you in the next one.